Joe's Inner Child Podcast.
So I know you guys worked on this. You shot this in 2019. My question then is, did this kind of offshoot, not necessarily anything related, but did this set you guys up for any other horror projects that you've been working on to release in the future?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Susie wrote actually, Susie, move your head to your left. There you go.
Oh.
You can see the poster behind her. So you see where it says Romi.
Yeah.
We did a short film shot on this high-tech piece of gear. And it did super well at festivals. It won awards, citations from audience. And so we are, as we speak, making that, developing that into a movie that we hope to shoot April.
That's awesome. Now, the short film, how long is the short film that exists right now for that?
10 minutes.
Is that something that listeners can find or readers can find on their own?
It's technically still in the festival circuit. Although I should probably enter some more in the US because it's such a strange time right now, as you know, with film festivals going online with much success, actually. There's one festival here, that Calgary Underground, that made apparently more money than they did pre-pandemic, which is super interesting. But yeah, we're trying to get into a movie. It's part of, Colin alluded to this before, but it's when you're making a small movie, you can't just go out and say, okay, what ideas do you have? You have to put parameters on it. And what Colin alluded to was, I think, confines on a character. So not 16,000 different locations, not 24 different speaking roles, but we set it all in this hotel quite deliberately. I'm talking about Bright Hill Road. But what Romi has in common is also almost a singular location, because it's about a woman being terrorized by her artificial intelligent digital assistant. And so you have to, both for COVID and for small budget reasons, you've got to limit the scope. But what I find, and what I occasionally teach on weekends, is that can open up layers of creativity you didn't think you had. So what is the quote? The absence of limitations is the enemy of art, or something to that. I'm probably paraphrasing it wrong. But
no, that's totally fine. Yeah, I get what you're saying, the idea.
Yeah, when you're handcuffed, and I don't mean literally, although I suppose you could do that too.
Depends on who you're with.
Yeah. It forces your mind to, as any independent filmmaker will tell you, you've got, a stunt in Hollywood. Okay, let's shoot it again. Didn't work. Let's shoot it again. Let's shoot it again. Whereas with us and with indie filmmakers around the world, maybe you've got one shot to do it. So that makes you prepare. And I swear it unlocks something in your brain that just goes, okay, so we don't have all these fail safes. So what are we going to do to make this work in one take? And I love coming from films that were, a bit bigger than this, like 3, 4, 5 million in some cases. Going to this was actually freeing in a way, without the big crew, without large cast, 5-page call sheet. It was just kind of nice in a way.
You guys are all based in Canada, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, but Susie, I wanted to ask, you wrote, is it called Romi or Romi?
Romi. It's called Romi. Yeah, I wrote we had gone some time without making anything, and I really wanted to do another short. I'd done a short previous to that, and so Robert and I just kind of agreed we were gonna shoot. He wanted something to shoot in the summer. That's right, Robert? He was going to be in Van, and so he wanted to shoot something, right? And so I in a way, I just kind of whipped something up. We went through a couple of ideas and drafts, but I'm absolutely fascinated again with digital assistants. I think they're terrifying. And so, so it was just this quick short that turned out so well. I'm so proud of that film still. And and so because there was so many angles we didn't use that we could have, we started talking about a feature. Plus, it was so much more COVID friendly than the previous script that I'd written, again, for us all to make. But, that was pre-COVID days, and it took place in a school, and there's lots of intimate touching, both violent
fighting and stunts. Yeah, stuff that's just impossible with COVID when you don't have a lot of money.
But that's okay because, we had that backup. It was just next on the roster. And, so the other ones, Penny Whistle, it will get shot eventually once we're all, virus free. But we were just so lucky that this was the plan anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Now I know you guys, before I focus on Colin, you guys mentioned that a lot of the, I don't want to call them repercussions, but the things that go along with limited budgets, and that you guys are obviously independent filmmakers. Do you guys prefer the freedom that you have as independent filmmakers, even though you're limited budget-wise, or would you guys also be interested in experimenting with bigger projects as well?
Okay, I guess it's me. I've never made a Hollywood film. I certainly would, but so I can't really compare, but I do know that the greatest fulfillment in my professional career is taking something relatively small and stretching it into something big that makes people's jaws drop open when they tell you how limited your resources are. And that only comes with experience, not just from me, from, Colin, Susie, the crew. And I can't imagine more gratification. I always say, having never done heroin, I always say it's like doing heroin. You get a taste and you can't stop. And it's such a miserable, I find making movies absolutely kind of miserable. But I look back on them so fondly, like with twinkle dust and nostalgia, and that was really good times. And my wife will go, "Yeah, really?" Because every single night you would text me saying how much you hated making movies, and it's true. And then I would wake up, go, "Yes, let's go." But at night it was just like, I hate everyone, I hate you, I hate myself, and I hate this film. Good night. But it's masochistic. It keeps you coming back.
Well, Dorothy Parker famously said, "I hate writing. I love having written."
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the process of creation. I mean, it's easier to look at what's already done than it is to try to look at something that could be done and then go through the trenches.
Literary Joe's Inner Child Podcast.